There are two main theories for who's responsible for her death. Her murder was either committed by a family member or by an unknown intruder. Early coverage of the case suggested a link between JonBenet's death and her involvement in beauty pageants. Essentially, there was this narrative that her killer was probably an intruder who was interested in children, a pervert, and went to seek her out. But there are some really morbid and horrific theories involving this family. It's almost hard for me to even talk about them. There is so much speculation. I mean, there are theories for almost every family member in this household. John Ramsey was supposedly harming his daughter physically and then had killed her. Some people think that maybe Patsy had beat JonBenet to death in rage after the little girl wet the bed. Some even speculate that the parents worked together to protect the real murderer, who was their 9-year-old son, Burke. But some of these theories started to materialize because in 1999, a Colorado grand jury voted to indict John and Patsy Ramsey on 2 counts of child abuse and obstruction of a murder investigation. Ultimately, the district attorney refused to prosecute, citing a lack of evidence. Prior to that 1999 situation, there was a moment in April 1997 where the Boulder's district attorney's office labeled Patsy and John as the main targets of their investigation. The previous month, a handwriting analysis had ruled John out as the person who wrote the ransom note, but did not rule Patsy out. The parents did not sit down formally with investigators until the 30th of April, which, keep in mind, she had been killed on the 26th of December. And it looks like they held a press conference to announce their innocence soon after. Now, we didn't get JonBenet's autopsy until July 1997, which is a while after, but I'm not too surprised because this case was so sensationalized and because it's pretty much an open investigation. The coroner found a deep ligature around the victim's neck and another around her right wrist, evidence that she was bound and strangled. So then where the hell did they do this? Like, if they did this in the basement, would the rest of the family hear the commotion going on? Also, it sounds really aggressive for a 9-year-old boy, unless Burke has some mental health issues to do this to his sister. Quote, blood and abrasions were found in the girl's private area, and that she was struck on the head violently enough to cause bleeding and an 8.5-inch fracture to her skull. Now, when they reopened this investigation in 1998, the parents were a big topic of discussion, and they went through all the evidence, but Burke was really a main focus because some people had this idea that if Burke had some bizarre outburst, he had done this to his sister, then maybe the parents would try to protect them because it would be, I guess, better in a way to just lose one child opposed to losing both. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and look at some of the police footage we have of them investigating their son and asking him some questions.
So do you feel like you're pretty safe?
Yeah.
Yeah? You ever worry about it?
Not really.
No?
I'm just playing my Nintendo.
Yeah. Any secrets, do you think?
I probably do, but I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
And if I did remember any, I don't think I'd tell you.
Why not? I'm a good person to tell secrets too.
Because they're secrets.
That's true.
My parents are sometimes crying.
Yeah.
But I'm basically just going on with my life.
What do you think happened?
I know what happened.
I mean, when she got killed. How do you think that happened?
I think that someone took her very quietly and took a knife out. Or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's how she died?
Or maybe a hammer in the head, maybe.
So what did your parents tell you about your sister dying?
My dad said, JonBenet's in heaven now.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of burst into tears.
How are you dealing with it now?
I kind of forget about it because...
Okay, hold on. We need to pause. It's a... I thought I was not me trying to like be nice to the little boy. Lock him up. What is going on here? It's giving major serial killer. Maybe it's a numb child trying to cope. But I mean, comment below. I'm not trying to be insensitive, guys. It's not a joke, but geez, like I just can't imagine. Like it's not even like a lack of emotion. It's like his way of like coming to terms with it. Like, oh, I'm just moving on with my life. Oh, she probably was stabbed like this or hit in the head like this. Like, boy, what do you know?
Just going,
You're just playing your video games all the time.
go.
Now, we didn't get much out of this case in 1999. In October, it was dismissed. There was not sufficient evidence, and it looks like Burke was ruled out as a suspect. Despite the Ramseys being preoccupied with all of these cases, they did find some time to write a book. In the year 2000, they released a book to proclaim their innocence. It's titled The Death of Innocence, and it gave a sit-down interview to Barbara Walters. They maintain that there's no one from their family who's responsible for killing JonBenet. But then it makes me question, why did investigators stop? Why didn't they go and find who actually did this? What's the connection to your workplace? In 2006, Patsy unfortunately died of cancer. That same year, this case started making headlines because a teacher named John Mark Carr confessed to murdering her daughter. He said that he had killed JonBenet Ramsey. And there's a lot of people out there who try to claim that they are a killer or possibly, a missing child who has now been brought into a new life, or, they try to claim titles when it comes to cases like this, and this guy was a phony. The DNA did not match. Just a creepy teacher who wanted to act like he was responsible for this, which I'm okay, hide your kids, let's evacuate the school, let's get this guy away from children. Remember, in 2007 and 2008, Dr. Phil told us about how they went on to retest this DNA, and by retesting this DNA, they were able to clear the Ramsey family. So no, the brother did not do this, even though he's creepy as hell. He's definitely getting my Creep of the Week award. The dad and the mom, they're all innocent, so they weren't responsible here. And this was big for the family because really up until then, everyone speculated that they had something to do with it. I mean, I still can't get over the fact that this letter brought up this amount of money that he had gotten in a bonus. Where's the connection there? How would this person know this? Now, in 2015, John Ramsey sat down with Barbara Walters again to revisit the case. The following year, his son Burke gave a televised interview to Dr. Phil and went on to proclaim his innocence.
With many speculating that her father, mother, brother, or all three were involved in her killing. Tonight, her brother Burke speaks after 20 years of silence about that painful saga.
I remember the casket was small and her eyes were closed. I think one of her eyes was a little bit droopy or something. I thought that was weird. A lot of sadness. I don't think I really fully grasped.
Oh, hell no. He grew up weird too, huh?
After this, I won't see her again. The next thing I remember, my dad came and told me JonBenet's in heaven now, and he started crying. Then I started crying.
Did you hit your sister over the head with a baseball bat or a flashlight?
Absolutely not. I didn't know if there's some bad guy downstairs and my dad was chasing off with a gun.
Everyone looks at the interview of Burke and thinks, why is this young man smiling?
I don't see a smile as much as
I see a smile. I see some wandering eyes. I'm sus. Oh no. I'm uncomfortable now.
see an uncomfortable facial expression.
Now, because the family has been cleared by this separate testing, JonBenet's father, John, has repeatedly petitioned Colorado authorities to order a new and more detailed DNA test in order to find his daughter's killer. He actually spoke at CrimeCon, which is a big convention for crime junkies, I guess, which I love Crime Junkies, my favorite podcast. I definitely want to go to CrimeCon, but he spoke there, and I think it's really admirable that he's still speaking for his daughter, because he said that he's not going to give up and he's going to find this killer, and I hope he does. Now, in November 2022, the Boulder Police and District Attorney issued a release about an ongoing homicide investigation, announcing that it would be consulting with the Colorado Cold Case Review Team in 2023. Quote, since JonBenet's murder, detectives have investigated leads stemming from more than 21,000 tips, letters, and emails. We have traveled to 19 states to interview or speak with more than 1,000 individuals. Which, hearing this, it's okay, yes, we want investigators to do due diligence, but this is what happens when a case is so publicized. There's so many people with opinions. There are mentally ill people out here claiming that they're involved. There's so much information that I can understand why an investigator who's running off of state funding would be how the hell do I even begin to go through this? They continued, the amount of DNA evidence available for analysis is extremely small and complex. The sample could, in whole or in part, be consumed by DNA testing. In collaboration with the CBI and FBI, there have been several discussions with private DNA labs about the viability of continued testing of DNA recovered from the crime scene and genetic genealogy analysis. Whenever there is a proven technology that can reliably test unbiased forensic sample is consistent with the samples available in this case, additional analysis will be conducted. Which I hear this excuse, or I guess not this excuse, but I hear this reasoning in plenty of cases because you don't want to destroy your chances of ever testing it. I mean, imagine we go on and we risk the test now this year, and then 3 years later, it's like super easy to go back and to test these things and to figure out who they are, and we just missed out on this opportunity. But it's also difficult waiting. I mean, you don't want time to go by and this person who did this to pass on or to, continue doing it again. I mean, I feel like someone who could do this to a young innocent girl, I mean, they must be sick in the head. They could probably do it again.
Now, after decades of mystery, there might be some new leads in that case. Boulder, Colorado police have never given up in this case. There are several new people on police's radar. And earlier this year, they started to use new DNA technology to test previously unexamined evidence. Now, NBC News has not independently verified the reports, but we did get a statement from JonBenet's father who says, quote, "There is new leadership at the Boulder Police Department whom I met with recently, and I am very impressed with their professionalism and commitment to solving my daughter's murder."
I do hope they are able to test this DNA, and I hope whoever did this has some 23andMe account, or maybe a relative that has an account, so that we can figure out who did this. I mean, I actually do feel like one day in my life there's going to be a story that's like, JonBenet Ramsey's killer found, convicted, hopefully. Thank you for watching this clip from the Let's Get Into It podcast. To view the full episode, visit the link listed below.